Hi guys and welcome back. My name is Diana and this is Creative Captivity. Today I have a sewing box or sewing kit box, and we're gonna prepare it for painting for to make it into a trinket box. They're easy to use, they're accessible, and they look very cute once they're done painted. So today we're gonna start off by taking them apart. I always have a little container where I put all my small parts in there. I put all my screws, all my hinges, everything that I can just put in there, and I don't have them running around and losing them. Losing a little screw this size is hard to find sometimes, so I take extra caution into where I put it and when I take it off so they don't pop out or I lose them in the process. Once I'm done, I also take off the little knobs. They're easy, they're just usually poppable. This one was particularly easy. It almost felt like they weren't glued on, so but they were still a little hard to take off by hand, so I just used some pliers and I took them off. They're easy to sand that way. So once I've taken them apart, everything's easy to sand. I take a 150 grit. Now you can do 120. But I don't like to do so much grit because I don't want that little line showing across, and I don't want to be sanding two or three times. So what I do is but I do like some texture, so I just do 150. That's my favorite grid. So I sand them all. I just want to get the surface rugged, and after I'm done with that, I clean it up with a damp or moist towel. It's not a dry towel because I want to pick up the fine particles that are in the pieces. It also clears the wood for it to absorb the paint better. As for paint, I get this paint from Hobby Lobby. It's from Folk Art. It's a sterling silver, and I apply a thin layer of water before I proceed with my first coat. I think that it absorbs the paint, sort of like a primer, so that it's not floating. It's not easy to scratch off when you're using the box. It's just my idea. I don't even know if it's true or not, but it's worked for me. I've done many pieces in this manner, and I feel like it's worked for me really really good. I like this paint because it gives me a nice true sheen, like a metallic, but not so over exaggerated. So you give it 4 coats of paint. Once you've done that, let it dry very good. I'd say about a day. I go back usually the next day. Then I go back with my same sandpaper and I sand it off. I sand off not so harshly. I just want to break up the top coat of the paint. I do sand the edges a little bit more, and some of the prominent like areas like the where the knob goes or where the hinges go, just because I know the next step is going to look better if I do that. For the next step, we're going to stain the paint on top, on top of the paint. I wanted to see if I can try to do the brown on first, but I wasn't really liking these browns, so I grabbed this brown, but it was a little reddish, so I took it off. I tried to mix it up because I thought it would be better, but at the end of the day, I didn't like it, and I didn't go with brown first, so I took it off and I completely wiped it off. I started with the black because that's my final stain. I usually do browns, so it gives it a little bit of depth and warmth, and then I do black. But in this case, I decided to skip the brown, and I just went with the black stain. I coat the black stain or the piece with a black stain all around it, and then I kind of take it off. I mostly take it off in all of it. I don't leave it on so much, but I do go back to the piece and I add it like sort of in the corners, just on the edges, and I dab it on there. If you have time, you can leave it on there and then come back and wipe it off. But for in the case of this video, I just kind of like left it on there for a little bit and then came back and took it off. Well, polished it off. But if you leave it on for a little bit longer, it gives it a little darkness, and sometimes for the piece is good. In this case, I just uh, put some of the black, took it off, put it back on, take it off until you kind of are happy with the piece. See that areas where you sand it more, it'll absorb more black. So, maybe a variety of different sanding areas, or more sanding, less sanding, gives it that, it's more wasted here, or the metal is more damaged here and there. So I like that process. Make sure you grab all your little pieces and stain them. I also stain the inside, although I know you can't see it, but I just like to get things so it looks complete. It gives it that whole effect of the whole thing being metal. Um, just make sure you wipe it really well. Make sure you take it off, put it back on if you wipe it off too much. Now it's time for me to figure out my drawer. It comes with two knobs, but I wasn't too sure that I was gonna put the two knobs back in there. I wanted to do it like the other one that I had. So what I'm gonna do is grab a little bit of plaster and paint. I know some of you might be worried about the paint cracking with the plaster and stuff like that, but it won't crack. If you are worried about it, if the piece gets used a lot, what you can also do is add a little bit of glue, and just regular glue, any kind of glue. Once I'm done, once it's dried, I usually wait the next day. Once it's dry, you can go back and sand it. I usually try to sand it as much as possible. You could also go with adding plaster and paint and put it all over the drawer and see what kind of effect that gives you. And then go on top of that and just sand a little bit so it just is nice and even. But in this case, I'm going for a smooth and even. So I sand it and I just keep on touching with my finger, make sure that it's nice and even. Once I've done with that, I just put some paint, dab it on there. I don't even grab my brush, I just dab it on there and let it dry. For the last step on this painting process, I wax it. I put a little bit of wax. It's just regular wax, wood wax. I put some wax with one of those dish scrubs. I use dish scrub because it's easier to me for me to apply with that than a regular piece of cloth. So I apply some and I take it off with a rag. I use the same rag for everything. I'm not sure if it works for you or not, but for me, I can use a rag for like 3, 4, 5 projects, and it still works for me. So I put it on and I wax it off, and I just continue repeating the process in all the pieces until I'm done. If you feel that you polished it too much and you took a lot of the black stain off, you can always go back and put some on, even if you've stained it before. It still stays on there. Once I'm done with all my pieces, I then start putting it together. I grab my little screws and I start, I wanted to be wise about how I put it together. So I assemble some of the parts separately. Then once I'm done with that, then I can go back and attach it to the big piece. It's a little hard, so I want to make sure I don't lose the pieces, and I want to make sure they're tight and I don't mess up the screw head. So I take my time. I take my time because I don't want to take it, put it together and then it's not put where it should go, and I got to take it off again. The holes become a little bigger when you screw it in and when you screw it out. So I want to make sure I get this done correctly. I mean, in this piece, there's not a lot of, screw ups. It's just one screw size pretty much. But in other pieces, you could, mess it up and it could lose its grip. Basic assemblage is done. Now it's time for me to concentrate on the drawer. I got some snacks from my husband. He likes to make pretzels and popcorn, and he just brought me some. In the drawer, I want to put the little tab, the pull tab that comes in the Tim Holtz Tinklets collection, but it comes with kind of like those little rivets, not the little folded tab ones, and they're not gonna work here with the drawer. So I gotta look amongst all my junk stuff and get some self attaching self tab screws that I can attach my tab with. I eyeball it. I usually measure it, but in this case, I was just eyeballing it. It's not that big of a difference. So I kind of tap it with the tip of my screwdriver and make a little dent of hole. So I just screw it from there. They're easy to attach. Once I'm done, you can see the difference between the one I use brown, a little bit of brown stain, and the ones I don't. This one I didn't use black stain, I mean the brown stain, and I kind of like it though. I forgot that I usually put stain on the wheels as well, that I use for feet. They look very fun, really cute, and they actually work really well with this piece. I love the piece. I love the feet, and it is for that. It's for all my trinkets. Now, I haven't accessorized on the front. I don't know if I want to copy it and duplicate that same decoration I did in the front of the other one, but this is how it is. So thank you for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe to my channel.